All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Tonight, John's Longbox and I are hosting Jon Del Arroz. I never think I get your name said correctly. Is it Del Arroz?
Del Arroz.
Del Arroz? Del Arroz. I'm not West Coast.
It's all good.
We'll make it easy. I'm Earth 1 John. He'll be Earth 2 John.
Ah, very good. Anyways, we're going to talk John's new Kickstarter, which is The Hidden Empire, and a little bit about his other books, like what is it? For crying out loud, I can't think of Flying Sparks. That's what it is, which is the first book that I've seen that he had up on Kickstarter. But right now, oh, there we go. Tell us a little bit about your new campaign, Jon, and I'll bring it up in the background so everybody can see it.
Yeah, in 2022, I started my sci-fi universe with the book that Jon just put up right there, Overmind. And it's starring a character called Ayla, and she was born out of frustration with them replacing redheads and beautiful redheads with black ladies in every media. And so you just get that. You got Zendaya replacing Mary Jane in the Spider-Man movies. You got Ariel being replaced in the Little Mermaid. It just seemed everywhere you turned that replacement was happening. So we wanted to push back on that. And second, we also wanted to push back on their sort of defeminizing women in the way that they look as well. So we obviously made some very large tracts of land as part of her character there. Good character. Two very good character points, you know. And on top of that, we were also frustrated with Star Wars, of course, and Warhammer 40K, the direction that these things are going. So I wanted to build a sci-fi universe where we've got an intergalactic civil war brewing. We've got a very nationalist character who's very heroic, and just kind of bring back old classic style storytelling on that level. So Ms. Crimson artistically, we talked about it. We try to do like a combo of like 50s work with Valerian stuff from like the 70s and 80s, and a little bit of heavy metal 1980s stuff thrown in there as well as a nice mix. And just going for a retro space action adventure vibe, combining the pulps with this kind of stuff. Because if you look at it, Star Wars was really influenced by the pulps originally, Flash Gordon and all that. And we wanted to just really bring it back. So that was super successful. Overmind, I think, hit $33,000 in sales. And so we were like, okay, let's do a sequel. And in The Hidden Emperor, the Karen Imperium's emperor has been replaced by a clone. He's screwing everything up and causing problems, of course, for the Imperium. And Ayla Bryn's figured out that it's a clone and has to try to rescue the real emperor. And it's a lot of fun on that level. So that's our current book. We're sitting at 27,000 right now. We're on pace to beat our original campaign, which is amazing. So we appreciate everybody who's been really in on this book right here. And that's the campaign. It's pretty awesome.
Now, if I remember correctly, I think your last book, Overmind, was 66 pages, was it?
That's right. So this one's 64. But when we hit 30,000, I actually have a story by Mike Barron, which is going to add a 4-page mystery story starring Ayla to the back of it. So it's going to be 68 comic pages, plus, of course, all the bonus extras and things like that.
Who did this picture? This reminds me of old DC, like Atlantis and things like that. Oh, what the heck's his name?
Jose Garcia Lopez. It kind of
yes.
Well, it's an old DC artist named Aaron Lopresti who did the Overmind cover. Yes. So
that's Aaron Lopresti that we're looking at right there.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
No wonder. Yeah. Great guy. Great comic artist. Good
he's a wonderful person. I liked working with him a lot, and he's a pretty stalwart Christian, and I like to hire good Christians when I can.
Is it the book that because I asked you to pick out a book? Is this the first in the series?
Yes.
Okay.
So I actually have
because I wouldn't be able to read it unless it was the first one. I'm crazy that way.
Yes and no. Well, I've done them so they're pretty standalone, because with the way that Kickstarter works, I mean, this last book came out in 2022, so I don't expect anybody to like remember what happened in the first book. I think that'd be really difficult to ask readers based on this kind of format. So everything's a standalone story. If you read that one, it wraps up. It feels like it wraps up. And then this one stars the character. The world's progressed. The character progresses. But it's also just a standalone story because I feel like people should be able to start and just read a book.
I think
And that's what Marvel and DC used to do. If you remember the single issues, every issue had a story because they just assumed that every issue was going to be somebody's first issue.
I'm doing that on my
That's what we're gonna
campaign.
do.
You know, if you
right.
buy my comics, you're gonna get a complete story.
Yes. Yeah, it's going Incubus. Good to see you. So yeah, this is what we got here. I also have novels to go with the campaign because I write novels as well. And the novels just are other stories that star Ayla Rin in novel form. So I figured that's a great way because visually, I like to really focus on action in comics. And I think that's what people like to see because it's a visual medium. And then, you want to get a little more character development, a little more background and things like that in there. I don't think comics is the best medium for a lot of that. So I think novels really, you can go deep into a character because it's text and you can get into somebody's thoughts a lot more. And so I wrote novels starring her as well. And each campaign has its own novel starring with her. So the first one had The Immortal Edge. This one has Into the Black. And the novels take place in between the comics. So it goes comic novel.
Oh, cool.
If you do. And you don't have to read the novels if you're just a comic reader. You don't have to read the comics if you're just a novel reader. But yeah, I'm trying to build a full universe here with all this stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I've really
heard a rumor.
got a giant thing going. Yeah,
John, I heard a rumor that this was optioned for a movie, and Lizzo is going to play her.
Yeah, that's definitely it. And Lizzo is in the movie version. She's also going to be a lesbian. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you.
Well, the fact that you have Mike Barron doing a story for this, I think you said, is great because I get Nexus vibes from this all over the place.
Yeah, that's really fun. My artist actually did a little. If you click on the updates, up top, it's like where the number 10 is right there. Yeah. If you hit read more here, my artist does little sketches for like every milestone. She's really invested into this book. And so she actually drew Ayla Rin. And this is not a Ayla Rin Nexus crossover. The story that he wrote is he just wrote Ayla Rin. But what it feels like, if you read the old Nexus books in the 80s, Mike Barron had backup stories for those, for a lot of them. And they were just like short little things. And they were like half comedic. His story he did really feels like that. It really feels like those backup stories in Nexus. And that makes me really happy. Yeah. Because I'm a big Nexus fan. I've got a Nexus signed.
Yeah,
Well, let me see if I can
I'm rereading Nexus
because I've got a Nexus signed poster Nexus right there. You can see it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
There was nothing else like Nexus.
I was just going to ask though. So you have a very pulpy feel to this. You got Mike Barron, you got a Nexus feel to it. I have to ask you because I don't know very much about your work at all. But would you say that you're much more of someone who's drawn towards the old indies, from the 80s and the 90s rather than mainstream comics at that time?
Absolutely. So yeah, like I said, Nexus, big influence on me. Steve Ditko did a lot of space stuff in the early 60s, actually, for Charlton Comics. Of course, everybody knows Captain Atom, but he did these like short comics. It was for a book called like Space Adventures. And I really liked a lot of the stuff from that. I've got the Atlas Comics Venus, deal.
Yeah, I just got that too. Isn't that great?
Beautiful stuff. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I love those 50s Atlas characters.
And so a lot of that was big influences, and also Valerian was a huge influence on this too.
Valerian is a French sci-fi, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to admit, I only heard of Valerian when the movie came and went.
Oh, the comics are really the best comics ever. Definitely, if you can find,
I should check out the. I didn't know anything about it until the movie came and went, and that wasn't the best selling point.
They made these complete collection. Oh, let me grab it so I can show you.
Are you aware of the Lensmen at all?
Yeah, I'm big into that too.
Really? I'm going to say because this is for some reason giving me a vibe of the Red Lensman, the last book.
So this is Valerian. It's the complete collection. It came out from Cinebook. It's a London
Cinebook
publisher.
makes good stuff.
And they did 7 volumes to do the complete Valerian. And actually, what you'll see on Valerian is that you can see this is a standard comic size,
right?
And this is how big Valerian is. Well, we're actually printing my books in this size, the Valerian size.
Oh, cool.
So we decided, you know what, like, I mean, just because comics do thing one way doesn't mean it's the best way, and bigger is better, especially when it comes to art, right? And so we wanted to give everybody more bang for their buck. So actually, even though we're increasing the size, we didn't increase the price of the volume. So we're
And
going with this. The hardcovers will look very similar to this.
cool.
And so good stuff. Yeah.
And just so you know, Cinebooks do not taste like cinnamon, so don't taste them.
Yeah, it's a
I
good
got
company. They do a lot of European stuff.
yeah, I got the Rio collection, the Italian westerns,
Hmm.
and what's it called, blue coats, about the Civil War. I think it's funny that Italy is making great comics about the American Civil War.
Yeah, and we don't do that over here. Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I
We're
think
doing
the
a lot of good
European
stuff.
model is something that is I think we're evolving towards the European model, meaning one maybe one gigantic edition of a hardcover 100-page book a year by a creator. And I got no problem with that. You know, these guys pour their heart and soul into one beautiful book a year, or maybe two a year instead of a monthly grind. You know, I think
That's right. And that's what I'm going for. One of these hardcovers that's about 60 to 100 pages somewhere, depending on what the book is. And my goal is really to do one of these a quarter, because, and honestly, that's about, if you look at the amount of pages it is, if I can get one a quarter out, that is basically doing a monthly book. And I just want to show that we can produce like that, because that's what Marvel and DC produce. We can do it at quality that's better than them. And we can just do this. Now, of course, my artists can't keep up with that sort of thing. So I'm going to have a quarterly book, but each one of those artists is probably only going to do one a year. And that way they can, not have to rush and things like that on their level. But as a writer, I can get all that done very, very easily. And I'm excited to kind of move towards that format. And thankfully, this will be the first time I'm actually testing a fulfillment company for the first time, because I've packed them all myself before this. But I really don't want to pack and ship books anymore, because I want to be able to do this
who are you
quarterly.
using?
Castalia House, Arcaven Comics. So,
Okay.
Yeah. And so this will be the first time I do that. And hopefully I'll be able to get that out faster and all that, so I can get the next campaign up and be working on that. Because we have a Space Marine comic that's going to be dovetailing out of this universe. That's going to be our next offering. So, yeah.
So just really quick, what's the Arctoons reader? Because Arctoons is webcomics. I remember correctly. Somebody put me onto it. I think not Mike Barron, but
Chuck Dixon.
Chuck Dixon. Yeah,
Yeah.
does some work there, right?
Chuck does a bunch of work there, and so do I. Actually, I've got a lot of my old comics are up there. And so arcaven.com is the website. And I know a lot of my readers come from there. So I just, like, if somebody just wanted to give me a $5 thank you real quick, rather than didn't want the book or something, I just put that as a reward to, kind of just shout out those people.
And you do have digital tiers as well, I see.
Yeah. So the original Overmind one, which is the 2022, I discounted it a little bit. So what I do is, for digital, I put it at $12, and the reason is 66 pages is 3 issues of comics. That's $3.99 times 3 comics. So that's actually cheaper than 3 Marvel and DC comics digitally. Now, the novel that comes with it, my ebooks are usually $4.99. So 12 plus 5 is 17. So that's what I sell that at. But I discounted the Overmind one to kind of give people a jumping on point for the earlier ones at a little lower of a price. Just because, we don't have any art costs on the old book anymore. And I want more people reading as much as possible. So those are the old books right there. The Hidden Emperor Into the Black ones are actually the new books. And it's a little confusing because there's so many different books on this campaign. But as it goes forward, the new ones will just be new books and then catch up pack. And I'm gonna simplify it once we have more, because once we get to 3 novels and 3 graphic novels, otherwise it's going to get too convoluted. But there's a complete Ayla Rin Adventures. So if you go to complete Ayla Rin Stories or complete Ayla Rin Adventures, that's what I recommend getting, because then you get both novels, both comics. You can do that in paperback form. You can do that in regular form. And of course, we've got hardcover versions and all that, all the way going down the line for whatever nice premium formats you want as well. We've even got leatherbound, which I looked this morning. We've sold 24 leatherbound books at $150. Now, they cost a ton to produce. That's why they're that much out there. But the leather-bound books are going to be absolutely beautiful. If you've ever read those like Easton Press books that are very fancy, it's going to be that quality. It's going to look like that on your shelf. So really cool stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's printing your leather books?
Castalia House Archive.
Oh,
Yeah, same group.
okay.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. Do you ever think about getting into comic stores?
I thought about it for a second, and then the metrics just don't make any sense. So you can't really make any money off of it, and I don't really much want to go through the trouble of trying to sell 2,000-3,000 books through Diamond or whatever to try to do that and then not make money off of it. It seems like a big headache. So yeah, no point.
Yeah, you seem to be doing well here. I mean,
Yeah,
you got 32 days left. And you're almost at 27,000.
But I always tell people this, because if you look at comics in a comic store, especially indie comics, I mean, Marvel comics, they're selling 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 copies of something. But if you look at like an indie comic, they're usually selling like 5,000 copies. And if you break that down, again, if you have a $3.99 book times 5,000, that's $20,000 right there. But you have to half that to go to the distributors. That's
right.
That's
$10,000. 10 grand.
And then to get it into Diamond, or I'm sorry, that's from Diamond to the comic shop. They have to half that. You have to sell it to Diamond for half of the half, which means you're getting $5,000. Well, if you got a print run of 3,000 books at $5,000, you're probably paying like maybe $1.50 a book, let's say. So that's 15. That's going to be $1,500 out of your $5,000. So now you're down to $3,000. So you just made $3,000. That's if you sell all 3,000 out there to them, right? So if the deal gets worse, the less you sell, and so I mean, at that point, between your creative team, if you're a artist creative team, and if you only sell half of those, you're down to $1,500, $2,000. You made $1,000.
So my comic's not doing too bad,
right?
My comic's not doing too bad then. If I was an Image comic,
no, think about it. Yeah, you're really probably making as much as those guys who go to an Image, except for the Walking Dead or the Weird Al leaders, right?
Yeah,
but for the most part,
like Transformers, right? That's the new hotness.
Right, the 90% of the indie comics or whatever, you're probably making the same amount. It's probably true. Yeah.
I honestly think we've gone back in time, and we're the ones who are doing basically the Buck Rogers and the that kind of stuff that originally came out of the pulps.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. A lot of the people in our circles really want to make like 90s Image comics, from what I could tell, but like I don't know if you've like gone back and read those recently.
They're terrible.
They're terrible.
I agree.
I've been RJ and I are pretty much on the same side. I'm an 80s Bronze Age Marvel guy.
The storytelling really collapsed. And what happened with Image was it was a lot of artists who like were really prima donnas about themselves. And it's because they did sell, because their books look flashy. But you get into it and they shunned writers and said, you know what, we don't need writers. We could just do it ourselves. And they can't. It was really like the quality of the writing is so bad,
right?
That there's not even stories in half of these things. Like, yeah, Caitlin Fairchild, another redhead from Gen 13 that I really liked growing up, beautiful to look at with J. Scott Campbell drawing it. But beyond that, like, did the Gen 13, are there memorable stories out of the Gen 13 line? No,
John, and that was one of the better ones.
And that's one of the better ones, correct?
Yeah, I was just on another channel earlier. We were having the same exact discussion. We were trying to name the memorial stories from Image, and we had less than one hand.
Witchblade Origin was okay, but they actually hired a writer they actually had a writer on that one. The Rob Liefeld stuff is completely unreadable. Yep. All of it. I mean, what else was there?
Yeah, and it's when they took over Marvel with Heroes Reborn that I just gave up. It was just like, this is the worst stuff in the world. I mean, you got cheesecake for drawings, but the story was pathetic, just like Rob Liefeld's Captain America. It was. The story, not just the art, but the story was awful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tried to read the omnibus recently, and I got about a third of the way through it, and I'm like, you know what? I can't spend my evenings reading this crap. It's really bad. Now there's decent 90s stuff too, but it's not the flashy, imagey type stuff that like has everybody with the nostalgia bait. I reread Spider-Man 2099 recently, and
That was pretty
even though it
good.
says Spider-Man, it's a cool little sci-fi thing. Peter David is a really good writer and just
Peter David. Yep.
built some cool
That was a good run.
characters. Yeah. And so there's good stuff out there, but you got to like look for the writers, and that's really what it comes down to. And I wouldn't skimp on art either. I mean, you got some bad art. There's nothing worse than that, of course. But without a story, you don't have a comic book. You have an art book.
Right.
Yep,
And that's
definitely. I'm
I
always going
said
on
this-
about Mike Barron's Flash. I mean, that was like one of the iconic books
best.
of my youth.
I say this: art will get me to look at a comic, but the story will
Right.
get me to keep buying it.
That's correct.
Otherwise, Image Comics was like, to me, just like those collections of those. Remember the fad of all the swimsuit comics. Like they would have like all the X-Men girls just hanging out by the pool with no words. That's what Image Comics was.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was. And so, in some ways, like the 2000s and the 2020, like it's like a comic industry reaction to that, where it's like, well, that was cheesecake, so we're going to do the opposite of cheesecake and just make this bland, lifeless, we don't want your male gaze nonsense to it, right? But that's not the answer. The problem wasn't the cheesecake drawings; it was just the lack of writing.
There was no story to them.
Yeah. And these little pedantic, sort of Tom King writings these days are no better, unfortunately. But that's why we're here.
I can't venture a comment because I haven't read any of them. I stopped at Marvel and DC in 2015, and I haven't looked back.
What was the 2015 watershed that made you stop?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just looking through those comics the other day. It's funny. I was Reggie Hudlin and was writing Black Panther.
That's right. I remember that.
And I was reading them, and I was just like, "This isn't the story. This isn't what Jack Kirby wrote." And I just got offended because I was like, "Who is this guy, Reggie Hudlin? I don't know who he is. I don't know what his ethnicity is. I don't know nothing about the guy, but he's contradicting Jack Kirby." And I was like, I was just getting madder and madder, and I got a $400 to clear out my pull list, of all the back issues. And I'm like, I'm spending $400 on comic books. And I'm just getting aggravated. And I was just like, that's it. Cold turkey. I bought everything. I didn't want to leave the store in a lurch, and I was done.
I get some stuff to review right now because it's
well, you got that news thing.
Yeah, but beyond that, like I don't read them really for enjoyment. I
don't think you could.
I don't think there's any big two that I read for enjoyment. I do read the new Transformers for enjoyment.
People are raving about that. I should try it out.
It's pretty good. The new Conan's pretty good too. I read that for enjoyment. But
RJ, do you get any new comics?
I just do the review. Yeah.
No, my comic shop closed down about year ago, 8 months ago. So if I have to order them online, and I just don't bother. So I just get stuff off of Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
I'll still get like the Usagi Yojimbo or anything Hellboy related. I absolutely love. I've been getting those Conans, but I missed issue number 1, so I got like 2 to 10 sitting up over here.
Oh dang, that's tough.
Yeah, I can't read it. I'm a comic book people are weird, so I got to get issue number 1 before. But everybody's raving about it.
It's
RJ
really good.
Conan. Oh, RJ got me into Conan.
Yeah, it's excellent.
But I'm reading back issues, and I'm not missing. I'm reading like goofy stuff like this that I missed the first time. Warp.
Oh, Warp's really good. I have that too. Yeah.
It's some of the first Bill Willingham artwork. I think
Mike did some work for Warp as well, did he? Mike Gustovich.
Yeah. Mike Gustovich is the main artist on this. Jerry Bingham and Mike Gustovich. Yeah. So I'm getting my comic book, Phil. I'm reading. I'm enjoying comics as much as I used to, but I'm not really getting too much mainstream new stuff. Getting too much.
That I read came out of Arcade also, and this is Chuck Dixon's Something Big with Frank Fosco. And Frank Fosco is a wonderful indie artist as well. He did the Urban Legends Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 90s. which was like their like really dark and edgy one from Image. And so he did this here, and it looks great. And this is about like an alien invasion happened, and it just wrecked everybody. And the hero here doesn't actually care about saving the world or anything like that. He just wants to like try to grift off the aliens and steal some of their stuff to sell it. So it's pretty funny.
An arcade.
But
I just
yeah,
got my Sister Suprema.
really good. Yeah, I've got that too. It's an excellent book as well. So
yeah, I got these just today from Genuine Comics. I don't know if you know Dave Brink.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's in where is he, in Holland, and he's making the best American superhero comics coming out right now.
Beautiful.
You know, I think it's funny that a European's doing American style comics better than any American right now.
It's good. Yeah. And that's the thing. We can look all over the world and find some really cool stuff at this point. And that's also the beauty of all this. Like my artist is up like in like way deep like North Canada. And so she's you know, I would have never found her if she just wasn't hanging around the Archaven circles and all that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and so we just lucked out, paired up. Again, this is our second graphic novel. Our first comic we did before all this was called Robotoad. And we're going to do a new printing of Robotoad, which is one of the add-ons here. So it's actually like a hidden comic. So if you back it and then you go to add-ons, you can add Robotoad as a comic to that, which was our first book, which is a lot of fun. And then we'll be doing just a small printing of that just to get the new people on board with it. And there's keep making new comics and keep making a lot of fun. My goal for this here is actually to have not only, you know, I'm trying to do quarterly comics, of course, but like I want to do the quarterly comics in this universe too. And so this will be like everybody, like from what I've seen, everybody tries to do a superhero universe. I have one too. And that's just what everybody kind of dreams of because of Marvel and DC Comics. But if you look at like Star Wars, and if you want to replace that, Star Wars is a full line. Dark Horse had like, you know, Knights of the Old Republic, they had Empire, they had Rebellion, they had, you know, the Smugglers, they had all these different lines of comics. And Star Wars really is a bunch of different lines of a bunch of different stories of everything. And so if you want to replace that, you have to like build a sci-fi line, not just a single sci-fi book. And that's what I'm attempting to do here. So we've got this. Ayla Rin's going to continue. I just came up with the plot for book 3 about 2 days ago. And so I'm going to start writing that pretty soon. Obviously, with this being such a success, we're going to continue it.
So how many campaigns do you have, right?
Ever?
Yeah.
I think I have 12 on Kickstarter, and I had 4 or 5 on Indiegogo, something like that.
No, I'm you know,
yeah.
I'm just thinking to myself, I got just over 200 backers on my first campaign.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's been doing it for a while. He's got 340. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So this will hit 500 before the end of it. And at 500, honestly, we're sustainable. If we can have 500 people read forever, that'll cover all the expenses for everything. But usually, like, you did pretty good because most people, from what I've seen from their first books, get usually between 50 and 150 backers. Like, I'd say would be where it goes. So having 200, I'd say, is above the curve. You're probably in the top 10% just with that right there, believe it or not. Yeah.
All right. Well, we hit about a half hour, so that's when I like to play the video for your campaign, just to get everybody a little bit of extra view of what's going on. But I only do it through the web page, so we'll have to just be quiet here. So, all right, here we go.
Separatists have replaced the Emperor of the Terran Imperium with a clone. In exchange for the real Emperor's life, Special Agent Ayla Rin must deliver a weapon capable of destroying a planet into the hands of the Twisted Scorpio Alliance, who are holding the Emperor captive. Can Ayla Rin save the Emperor and keep this weapon from being used? Find out in The Hidden Emperor, a 64-page graphic novel by Ms. Crimson and Jon Del Arroz, the hit creative team behind Overmind.
All right. I was wondering who does your coloring?
This guy Sunil does my coloring, and I've had him do kind of standard coloring before, but I asked him to do something different for this one. I was showing him the pages from Valerian, and I wanted him to create an old feel that felt almost brushed. And as you can see, not on the covers, but if you look on the interiors here, like it's a very different coloring feel than you get pretty much anywhere else. It's like it's got a classicness to it. It's
Yeah, it
brushed.
looks like
It's
a
got a lot of
limited
bright
palette,
colors. Yeah, and we
which
attempted
I
to do
like.
that there.
I think
Mhm.
when you have an infinite palette, people abuse it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So we went for something way different with that, and it worked. And when I saw it in Overmind, I was like, "Wow!" And
That is
I think
great.
with
I
this one,
really like
he
this
really hit it out
image
of the
that I'm
park.
looking at.
Yeah, this has the looming spaceship. It's like bearing down on you right here, and the designs that Miss Crimson's come up with for the spaceships, they're so 1950s. It looks so cool.
You
I
know what's
love it.
funny, John, is Miss Crimson. I've been getting confused now. I thought Miss Crimson was the name of the character, but then I'm like, it's Ayla Rin. I didn't realize Miss Crimson was the artist.
Yes, she's going under a pseudonym because she has worked in kind of mainstream
Yeah.
indie comics for a while and doesn't want to get canceled. So,
But
does
that
what she does here.
makes sense now. I was
Yeah.
confused, which is easy to do.
Yeah. I love her art style though. She's very expressive, and she just loves the character too. Like she's taken Ayla Rin, and I even when we're not making a book together, she'll just send me random doodles of Ayla Rin, like
Oh, that's cool.
gardening and things like that. Like she just really cares about the character, and really has put a lot of work into it and identifies with it, which has helped things because a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, I've worked with some people like this myself. Like, you get these like Filipino or Brazilian artists who are like in a studio and whatever, and they're just taking a paycheck, right? And you know uh, that it's fine, and a lot of them have a lot of talent. I'm not knocking that. Like I said, I've worked with them myself, and I do from time to time. But with Ms. Crimson, because she cares about the character and because she really wants this to like be her expression as well, she'll just put little background things in there and like little detail into it that those guys wouldn't do. And so it just adds an extra depth to everything we're doing. And once she started talking about Ayla Rin gardening and all that, so I wrote that Ayla Rin has like a rooftop garden on top of her apartment on her building, and that's like her hobby when she's in between missions is she does like sort of horticulture stuff, right? And I just came up with it just because I was spitballing with her, right? And so that adds a lot of cool depth to the character where it makes them real.
Oh yeah.
And I like it. Yeah.
Renzo's doing my comic. He drew
Love
one of the
Renzo.
characters really well, and people have been asking me about it. So now I'm writing a story about a character that I didn't even give a description.
Yeah.
Renzo just made. I love that kind of stuff when your artist does.
Renzo's amazing.
Renzo's.
We're gonna make a fun villain. Like so, our villain in this one is actually modeled after Justin Trudeau.
So in other words, you're just being lazy and grabbing from real life. You don't really have to work too hard.
Let me see if I can find a funny image on this. I don't think I put it up on the
Son of
campaign page.
Castro?
No, I just call him Justin. So on this PDF, let me see if I can find.
My wife is like, he's
the inspirational image. Okay, I did. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up so you can see it real quick. So we were just talking again. We had Overmind. Overmind was about a rogue AI going crazy. We did a cool computer design with it that's very psychedelic, and so that was our villain for the first book. But this one, we just started talking about what we're going to do for the next book here, and so I was like, here, if you want to pull up my window real quick. So this is Justin, and if you remember, Justin Trudeau had a whole scenario where he wore blackface and like dressed in traditional Indian garb, Indian from India. And so I thought that looked so ridiculous. So we decided to make a more ridiculous sci-fi version of that right here. So we have this like weird, effeminate freak of a villain who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes right here. And I love the design so much with the big feather. It's hilarious. She really outdid herself
does
on
he
this.
offer everybody medically assisted death?
Kind of. I mean, he is trying to kill off the Terran Imperium. So if you think about it,
You stub your toe.
yeah.
Would you
This
like
is
to
our
die?
this is our opening page. Like, so we've got our Imperial guards right here. Beautiful design on that too. She's got some interesting people in the background here, and Ayla's here. This is her handler Joris, who works at the agency, and so we have a lot of stuff. Now this guy up here is another secret agent in the agency, and the story behind this guy is I actually put up a tier in book 1 to get drawn into the book. And when I went to print with it, I forgot, like, she actually drew it. We just forgot to actually put it in. And this was the drawing that we're going to put in the first book. And so I felt really bad because I just forgot to put it in the print edition. I went with the wrong file for that one page. And I was like, gosh. And so what I did was we put it in the first page of this one, which is the first page. And then we have him come back later in the story where he actually plays an important role in the story for like 3 pages. So the guy who bought that tier, instead of just getting his image thrown into one thing, like became like a real character that like matters in our world now. All because I felt bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
You never know where ideas are going to come from.
Yeah. That's the fun part. And we spitball so much and do so much here. I love her architectural designs too are just so cool. So like classic sci-fi.
I do like
along with
so is this Earth in the future, or is this like Star Wars where it's just another
this is Terra Prime. So the lore behind this, which is not actually written into the comic book, I just kind of made it, I write my background Bible before going into things. But they don't really talk about it in the comic book. This takes place about 1,000 years after Earth blew up from a nuclear holocaust. And so Earth at that point, humanity had gone out and expanded into the stars, and they terraformed a new place called Terra Prime, which is their new home, which is the Prime Terra. And so that's where the Imperium really built its seat of power, and then expanded out from there after all those the wars kind of settled. And we're in a time, the Pax Imperium, where there's been relative peace for hundreds of years, and everybody's kind of grown complacent. They've grown too fat. They've grown too prosperous, and so everybody's gotten lazy, and things are starting to crumble at the seams of the empire. Kind of on the fringes, and that's where we started with Overmind, and it snowballs really fast as problems happen. So we're building up an intergalactic civil war. I didn't want to start in episode 4 where we're for Star Wars. I wanted to start with where to really start and show the decline of the empire first. And then we've got and it's just going to open up and explode. And if you've read any of my series before, I really slow roll this stuff and build things up in book 2, 3. That's kind of how I do things typically. Mm-hmm.
You want to tell us, you also have a news comic book site. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So you guys might know me for my commentary, of course, online here. And then I have Fandom Pulse, which I run on fandompulse.substack.com. And I just talk about pop culture, comics, sci-fi, things like that. Usually drama that's going on within the woke quotients of that. And that's picking up really good. So we're at 78,000 views on the month.
Oh, wow.
Right now. And so that's going crazy. If you read that every day, I'd appreciate signing up for the Substack there, as well as this stuff. And it's free to read, but you can
fandompulse.com. I'll put it in the
fandompulse.substack.com. So I'm on the Substack site. I'll put it in the private chat.
Yeah, put it in the private chat. I'll put it in the public chat.
Thanks, Sean.
No problem.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I wake up.
You have that many views. I think last time I talked to you, you weren't near that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it blew up quite a. Oh, thank you very much, Warren. Yeah, channel's crazy. It's a lot of work. I wake up at about 5:30 every morning, and at 5:30 I search the news for what's going on, for what I'm going to write, and then I write an article. Then I have to search more news because I'm going to make 3 YouTube videos of news, and sometimes 4 because I go to my comic channel and do that now too. So I have to find something comic related, and then 3 other like Star Wars or whatever is in pop culture for the main channel, and then I record those, which they're about 10 minutes long, so they're about 40 minutes each, and I then have to take my kids to school. Then come back and actually upload those, put in all the thumbnails and all that for the day. And so by the time I actually like get everything uploaded and ready and all that, I'd been working from 5:30 till about usually 10:30, 11 a.m. Without stopping other than to take my kids to school.
Put the link to your campaign in the
crazy.
private chat, and I'll throw it in the public
Oh
chat.
yeah, thank you.
No problem.
It's
How old are your
it's
kids?
quite a bit.
The link for this is in the description as well. Just let everybody know
Okay.
the link for this campaign.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd appreciate you guys backing this because this is our main revenue source for the year, of course. So even if you like my news, you just want to help things out, I appreciate that too. But yeah, with all the news stuff, that takes so much of the day. I was just saying in my Discord, like, it's amazing. Like, I have the capacity to like get all these books done and things like that. I actually finished writing a script for a new book, a 30-page book, which is not going to have a campaign. But I do books outside of campaigns too. And that I just finished that up like right before I came on the podcast here for something else, which I'm not going to talk about yet because there's no art for it yet, so there's no reason.
Yeah, not really.
But I do that in the afternoon because then I have to go pick up the kids from school, then I have to hang out with them for a little bit, and I just try to write in between things, kind of in the afternoon and evening to get things done. And I know I've gotten some flack lately because I've not been putting out novels as fast as I used to because comics are a lot faster to write. And so I can get things done a little better on the comic end than hand that off to an artist just because of time constraints. But I am working on novels too. There's one on the campaign, as I said. I'm a little slower about this, but I'm working on it.
Funny that you're going in the direction of Star Wars type thing because I spoke to, it was probably a year and a half ago, I spoke to John C. Wright. And
yeah, I love John.
That's what he's doing as well. He's writing a big, long series, which is basically, in his mind, replacing Star Wars because it's just falling apart.
Yeah, Star
He's
Wars.
been doing that for a while. He's been working on that since like, because I came out with my first Star Wars-esque series. When did I come out with this originally? 2018 maybe.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, and he was working on his then too. But I haven't heard from him in a bit. I mean, he's kind of checked out of online a little bit. Have you talked to him lately?
Well, no, just last time I talked to him was about a year ago. Like I said, I did a hour interview with him, but we used to talk via email. But that's really exclusively what he's working on. And he said he just shot himself in the foot because he started to write, and then he just wanted to write and write and write. And he's got huge, big stacks of stories for this entire universe. And he says he's just going to start, when he starts to put it out there, it's just going to be an avalanche.
Cool. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's definitely an inspiration to me. And if you guys have not checked out John C. Wright, you definitely should go look him up.
I wanted to ask you, do you find there's like less and less comic book news? Like what the mainstream is it?
Oh no, I've had amazing. It's been just an avalanche of just
really
amazingly bad news for the mainstream. And so I don't know. It's a talent to scoop out stories, and you can train it because I used to like not. I used to think that like I used to have like, gosh, I can maybe find one thing to talk about a day. But now I'm finding like one thing to talk about even in comics every day. Like today, I covered like your boy Zach is really like falling off the rails and like attacking his fans and doing everything that he went at Marvel and DC for doing for several years. It's really weird watching his downfall. So I covered that today. Yesterday, I covered like a bunch of artists got really mad because these pop culture outlets credited Grant Morrison instead of Frank Quietly for the X-Men 97 designs. Right. So I was just covering them being outraged about that because that's interesting. Day before that, I found there's a DC compact line, which is kind of cool because they're putting these like graphic novels into $10 small things, which is
trying to make it
barrier of entry. But I look what they did, and about 30% of them are like the woke counterparts of like they put the Black Green Lantern girl in it. They put like Batwoman, the lesbian one out. It's like they decided they did a few of the real ones too. They had All-Star Superman and all that, but it's like they sprinkle them in there to try to like bait and switch you into grabbing those. And so nobody else talked about that, but I noticed it. Ultimate Spider-Man, like last week, announced that they're going to make Black Cat into a black girl now. So that was a freebie for me also. So I'm finding something every day. Like Gail Simone is in the news a lot because she's writing Uncanny X-Men now, which is always good clicks. And so I find something every day. Comic
Have you read it? Is it out yet? The Gail Simone's X-Men?
It is out. I don't have my copy yet. I haven't been able to get to the comic book shop for the past week and a half. I've been too busy. But I'm going to be getting it, and I will be reviewing it as soon as I get it.
I'm just curious, like, what kind of sushi do they eat? How do they like their coffee? I'm thinking Cyclops is probably a black coffee guy, and I'm joking because this is all she writes about is people sitting around eating food. And it's a shame.
We'll see how it goes.
He did write a really good series years ago, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the
Secret
series,
Six.
I'm sorry.
You're probably thinking Secret Six.
Secret. She wrote her own series, and it's gonna drive me. It was about old superheroes that lived in like a retirement community, and it's driving me nuts. But it was good. Like, this drives me nuts that she's obviously a person who does have talent, but I don't know if she's just coasting now or
Well, I don't know. We'll see how this X-Men thing is.
Well, as you can tell by me being flippant, I don't have high expectations.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I've done videos about, John, and I think the other John too.
Earth 2,
you see, Earth 2, John. Yeah, I used to say that you get these people, and they look like, well, they're trained, and they could write a good story, and they have the head for writing a good story. But if you don't come from a basis of reality and understanding how simple things work, it's just not going to work. It's just going to be a completely horrible story and no one's going to follow it. And that's what I really I think people look towards you, John, Earth 2, John, because you're grounded.
Nobody looks towards me. It's cool. I understood you.
Not yet, but you're grounded enough so that they can know that there's going to be something of meat at the heart of your story.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, I've done this a while, and it's not a my first comic situation. I've done 12 full graphic novels plus, I think I have single issues of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 13 graphic novels because I adapted somebody else's as well. So I have 13 graphic novels out. 7 single issues on top of that, and these are just the ones that are done, right? And so I've really learned a lot along the way. I try to put a lot of stakes for the characters into things. I try to put some meaning to the story, so it's more than just like, it's not mindless action like a lot of the 90s stuff was. But I also try to put that action in there because I want the fun quotient as well. It's a balance. Storytelling is really about balance and sprinkling all of those things in there. It's like cooking, right? You put too much salt, it tastes like crap. You don't put any salt, it doesn't taste like anything, right? But you got to get that happy medium where you get a little bit of everything in order to have something good. And I think we've definitely accomplished that here. So we've had some early readers who go over this stuff before we look at it, and that helps me revise dialogue and things like that. They've said this is our best book yet. And they said Overmind was our best book yet before that. So if every book keeps being the best book yet, that's always a good sign.
RJ, I didn't get a chance to say this to you, but I really liked your Saturday video about the death of beauty is like the harbinger for like a collapse of a civilization. That was one of your best videos.
Well, that's what I always go on about is, at the heart of the heroic ideal that I'm always talking about is the true, the good, the beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really good.
I'll have to watch that. Awesome.
Yeah. I every once in a while, RJ makes a good video, and
every once in a while. Yeah.
Give a little encouragement.
Awesome.
So do you think that Marvel and DC, do you think they're riding the ship? I mean, you seem to have your finger on the pulse more than me.
Oh no,
No, okay,
not at all. What Marvel and DC are doing is they've gotten spanked from corporate saying, "Hey, you're screwing things up." And they're all in panic mode right now because they're all the same people in both companies. They just shuffle back and forth.
right. It's
And
always
and
been that way. Yeah.
if you look at what they're doing, they're rebooting everything right now because they're telling they're doing X-Men #1. Every X-Men's a #1 issue.
Right.
DC's all in, so that's a jumping on point. They're all gonna have a bunch of #1 issues. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just rebooted with a #1. Power Rangers is rebooting with a #1 outside of Marvel and DC, just to kind of show you where things are at. So they're all banking on we're gonna restart all together right now. We're gonna reboot it with an all new #1 for collector's items, and they're gonna show corporate that they have this giant boost in sales from the artificially inflated #1 variant covers and things like that. And then they're going to coast off that for a little bit. And it's just going to decline even more because Q4 and Q1 sales were some of the worst ever in comic book history. If you guys don't know, it's like panic mode for comic shops. And what they're doing is they're still just doing the exact same things, making the exact same identity politics stuff. They've ruined the Ultimate Universe by making it just the same crap already.
Did you see what they did? Deadpool just comes out. It's $1 billion movie, and they kill Deadpool
and they kill him and put a chick out.
The same.
So they're not learning
the same
anything.
Day of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, is this incompetence or is this by design?
A little of both. A little of both. There's definitely people who want the agenda in there. But then there's people who they just don't have the talent. I mean, you've got a lot of these people who just have these jobs that they just get the jobs because they've got the clout in the industry. And you see it all the time. It's just like, I mean, it's the Heather Antos effect, basically. Like, she can't get fired. So she brings in her friends, she brings in Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly to write Star Trek, and then they get an Eisner Award nomination for how great Star Trek is. Well, Star Trek's crap. It's the worst. It's the worst bastardization.
I did a video on her Star Trek comics. Oh my god,
it's so bad.
I mean, I try not to be negative on my channel, and I did 4 bad reviews in 4 years, and one of them was her Star Trek comic. And I tried to look for something. I'm of the opinion when it's like nobody sits down at the dinner table and goes, "Boy, I hope this dinner is terrible." When I open up a comic, I'm like, "I hope this is good." It was awful.
Those guys
if you see me doing a bad review, something's up.
Such bad writers, but here's the kick of it. Like, even though that's not selling very well, even though the writing's terrible on it, they're Heather Antos' friends, so they get the Eisner Award. Now they go around saying they're Eisner Award nominated writers, and so Marvel hires them, and they're they come out with this one right here, NYX, and what do they do? They put Ms. Marvel with Girl Wolverine and some other girl from the Krakoa X-Men stuff. And it's terrible. It's as terrible as the Star Trek stuff. But now, DC will hire them next week to do something because they just have the same 50 people on their Rolodexes for this stuff. And they just hope that if they recycle them with enough #1s, they'll eventually have a hit. That's just seems to be the only thought process there. They won't go outside. They won't try anything different. It's really funny because I'm sitting here like Valiant restarted their universe recently with Alien books took them over, and I've been picking them up because I want to support the little guy, and I've always been a big Valiant fan.
Yeah,
and I look at it and it's like,
following.
Yeah, and I've been one of those for a long time. Heather destroyed that a few years ago and made it really difficult. Like, I mean, she ruined Expo Manowar, and it made me not want to read it ever again. Well, a lot of the stuff that the new people they got is okay. But I looked at it, they hired just a bunch of the same people. Like they've got a guy who's writing Avengers. They've got Becky Cloonan, who like did the failed Punisher run for right before Jason Aaron destroyed everything. It's like, why are you bringing these same people in to do this exact same thing again? It's really maddening, but they would never like. I could write 100 great Exo Manowar stories.
Chris Claremont still working. I mean, Chris. Yeah. Walt Simonson just tweeted that he's ready for work. He's got and
it's wild.
Still Mike Barron, Chuck Dixon. These guys are I mean,
they're cranking things out. Yeah,
right.
But they won't try anything. And if you look at this, like actually my Kickstarter right now, The Hidden Emperor, to talk about Valiant. Valiant's like was pretty big in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm almost at 27,000. Their Kickstarter for Bloodshot right now is at 23,000. So they've got a built-in audience that will do 23,000. I've got it like, and here's the thing, I've got a built-in audience that'll do 30,000 that's not buying the Valiant stuff. So why wouldn't they just hire me, and then we'd have a Kickstarter that has 50, 60,000 together on their property? And I love it, and I know all the backgrounds and the lore.
I was gonna say you probably know all the ins and outs too of the character.
And so it's like, but they just wouldn't do it because, like, it's just the politics of inside the industry are just what they do. They just hire the same people over and over again to do the same things over and over again, and they slap a new number one on it. It's really maddening.
So your fellow comic book journalist Rich Johnson keeps saying the comics are booming right now. So, what do you think about that?
I think, like I said, I mean, they released a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. Of course, that's going to sell 150,000 copies because it says #1. It says Turtles on it. Like, I mean, but when it gets to number 10 or 12, like, and they replace the turtles with female turtles, is it going to still be?
Well, I'm being facetious now because he includes Scholastic sales in. And he when he says the comics are booming, because I literally had an argument with him on Twitter, and I've never met a more disingenuous person in my life. Oh my God, it was.
No, he's a slime ball like I've never met.
I'm trying to be positive here, but it's taxing my manners. He was, and I was calling up my friends. Can you read this? Am I crazy? Like, I started to doubt myself. He's that good at the syllogisms and solid, but I got out of him that he's including Scholastic sales and manga sales, and that's why comics are booming. And I'm saying, because I was listening to your boy Zach, and he's talking about the North American direct market and how they're sinking,
right.
and he's responding to your boy Zach saying no, they're booming, and I'm like, you don't understand, you're talking about two different things, and he would not listen. So your news source, what do you think? If who's right, who's wrong, or is it more complicated than this?
No, it's obviously Rich Johnson is a paid shill,
right?
So he has to say what he has to say. He's part of a whisper network that's within these people that, like, his journalism, he gets scoops from these people, and then it's a big sort of access media kind of situation, right. And so he's going to say everything's great, and he's going to be their propaganda piece no matter what. And that's exactly what's going to happen. No matter how much the ship is sinking, you're never going to hear anything from Rich Johnson.
Right.
And I always liken this. The biggest eye opener to this is the Neil Gaiman situation. And for those who don't know, because nobody reports on it other than me, Neil Gaiman is accused of sexual assault by 5 women at this point, 2 who worked for him. And so this should be the biggest story in comics. Everybody should be talking about this. It's just 0 from Bleeding Cool, 0 from Heidi McDonald, 0 from Comic Book Resources. And they were, from what I'm hearing, they're ordered to not even talk about it. And they're not, because Neil Gaiman with Sandman is a cash cow for DC Comics.
Well, if
they lose that revenue, they reprint that story every year, and the reprints make them more money than a lot of their mainline stuff. And so they can't have that cash cow go away. And that's all this is about. And they will hide things because of that. That's right.
I'm sure the Netflix people be quiet. We don't need that. They just filmed season 2.
So a lot of stuff, really got exposed because of that. Because with, the hashtag Me Too stuff, all these people are like clapping for feminism and all this stuff this entire way through. But as soon as their guy does it, they're silent. It shows exactly that it's just politics. It's a whisper network. It's an inside job here with all these people. They're all corrupt. And there's opportunity in that. They can hate me all they want. But I can still make my comics and all that and do very, very well, even without their approval, without them reporting on any of my books ever. It doesn't matter. And that's, it's
the silver lining to a lot of this crumbling of the comic book stuff right now is the fact that if you look at animation and you look at studios as well, they're crumbling at the same time.
That's right.
At a faster rate. So there's nowhere to run anymore. So
right.
once things hit bottom, there's nobody going to bail them out this time.
Animation is, I don't pay attention to animations. Like, I don't really know any new They're doing bad also.
Studios are shutting down left and right, and people
Wow.
are just being consolidated into other larger parts of the corporation to try and keep shows that do semi well at the very least going. Not only for television but also for animation. But
Wow.
that's
That's
a
makes
lot
sense.
of people are getting laid off.
What about video games?
That I don't know
Video
very much
games,
about.
as video games, I cover all this too. Same thing's happening. Corporate got overbloated. They've got all these DEI departments and things like that, and they are now laying off a bunch of people left and right as well. It's the same sort of situation.
So, geez, I wonder if there's going to be like a big synchronicity point when all of this stuff just falls apart all at once. I mean, if they can't go to video games, can't go to animation, comics aren't doing too good. I mean, Deadpool is the only successful movie that I could think of in the past year or
Right.
so.
Well, I'll put on my tinfoil hat for you, John, and I'll say
Go ahead.
that if Trump wins the next election, the Democrats are going to tank the entire economy and try to pull everything down around
Oh,
our
for
ears.
sure.
RJ, I was saying this to my wife. I go, if Kamala wins, and I still don't think she's going to be the candidate. I'm still calling Gary Newsom.
Really?
Yeah, I'm calling Gary Newsom's going to finagle in there. Like, I think he's lubing up right now as we speak. But it's going to be just a slow descent into fascism, But if Trump wins, I said we got to praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, because they know how bad every activist is going to be activated. BLM, Antifa, it's going to be terror in the streets, from day one.
Oh, totally.
So they could go, look how bad it is that Trump is president. You see how bad? And like I said to guys at work, the only thing wrong when Trump was president was the behavior of Democrats. And they don't like when I say that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we've hit our hour here, John, and I know you have to take off. So I'll give the last word to you, and you can plug your open campaign one more time.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we are approaching the 27,000 mark real quick, and just a backer or two will get us there. So I'd appreciate you guys getting us there tonight. This is a wonderful science fiction tale. It is classic pulp stuff. It's got inspirations from Flash Gordon, Valerian, Star Wars. If you like just wonderful action adventure, you're going to absolutely enjoy this. And thank you guys so much for the support so far. It's been really, really incredible. I can't believe this is it's actually doing so well. It just is a testament to the hard work and the perseverance that we've put through this. And of course, Ms. Crimson's art is amazing as well. I can't sell that without her. Can't thank her enough. She's been just a great partner through this and through the Overmind campaign that started in the first place. Grab both books. I really think that you will enjoy, and it's worth reading both Overmind and The Hidden Emperor. And I thank you guys for your support. Yeah.
And just really quickly, oh darn, I'm trying to get this here. If you get both books, what is it? It's fairly good price for both books, isn't it?
Yeah, I know there's so many different tiers because they've got different covers and different things. But if you go to the both books is going to be there's the complete Ayla Rin digital, so you can get all that right there. There's the Hidden Emperor graphic novel. By the way, you can click on any of these, and there's add-ons. So if you just get the Hidden Emperor and you add Overmind to it, you can do it that way too.
Okay.
But I think I have one called Both Comics somewhere. Gosh, where is that? First appearances, Into the Black Immortal Ed. Those are just the
really
novels.
quick, man. This was here in like 3 days.
Awesome. This won't be the case with the campaign until it's over. But
Overmind,
Overmind plus Hidden Emperor comic pack. Yeah,
$45.
So this is two graphic novels. You're going to get 60, assuming the stretch goal hits, which I'm going to guess we are. You're going to get 134 pages out of this. So that's really, really good value. Especially compared to a lot of the indie stuff out there. And $20 for Overmind because I just discount it because it's the old one. $25 for the new one, and it of course helps pay the artist and all that too. This is really the probably I'd say the intro tiered back that I definitely recommend.
All right, and the link for this campaign is in the description if anybody wants to back it. So go on over and give John some of your money if you like what you see. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for showing up. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for coming and sharing your book with us.
Thanks so much.
Good
All
seeing
right.
you, John.
I'll
Good
see
seeing
you
you, Chuck.
all later. I'm gonna just.